Chapter 4. A Dead King and a Competition. Then Manjusri said a spell. The magician returned to his tiger shape, and the god rode him away over the clouds. Tripitaka sat in the great hall of the wood temple, reciting the true scriptures. It was midnight, and he was tired. Soon he lay across his reading desk and slept. Although his eyes were closed, he seemed to know what was happening. He heard a voice outside the hall, whispering, "Master." Tripitaka lifted his head. In his dream, he saw a man who was wet from head to foot. When he looked more closely, he saw that the man was a king. The king told Tripitaka his story. 5 years ago, the rain stopped falling, the grass stopped growing, and all my people were dying of hunger. I prayed to the gods, but still the rivers were empty. But then a magician came, who could call the wind and the rain. I asked him to pray for rain, and he did. The rain came pouring down. For the next 2 years, I was very kind to this magician. Then in spring, when the two of us were walking by the great water-hole in my palace, I suddenly saw a white light, and he pushed me into the hole. He covered the top of it, and then made a tree grow over it. Pity me. I have been dead for 3 years, and nobody knows. Tripitaka was white with fear, but at last he said, "Why did nobody look for you?" "Ah, with his great power, the magician transformed himself into a man who looked like me. Now he is the king of my people. But the night spirit blew me to you, and gave me hope with talk of a great monkey king who can kill demons with his cudgel." "But everybody in your country thinks that the magician is you. My follower would be attacked if he tried to help," said Tripitaka. "I have a son, the prince, who spends most of his time in the Palace of Golden Bells. He is not allowed to see his mother, the queen, because she might say something. He knows nothing about his true father, except that I had this piece of white jade." "But how can a poor priest like me get to the Palace of Golden Bells?" "Tomorrow my son will hunt with 3,000 followers, and when you give him the jade, he will know what to do. But now I must tell my queen everything in a dream." As he turned to go, the dead king hit his head on the floor, and Tripitaka woke up. "Followers!" he called. "Where are my followers?" "Now what?" said Pigsy. "I was happier with my old life, although the food was bad. Now I am woken up in the middle of the night to look after a priest." "I had a strange dream," said Tripitaka uncertainly. Monkey then came in and said, "Master, your dreams come from your waking thoughts, because you worry all the time. I think only of seeing Buddha in the west, and no dream comes near me." But Tripitaka made Monkey listen to the dead king's story. "Say no more," said Monkey. "This is work for me." "The king left this," said Tripitaka, remembering, and he gave Monkey the piece of jade. Dear Monkey! He pulled a hair from his tail, blew on it, and said a magic spell. When a beautiful small box appeared, he put the piece of jade in it. "In the early morning," he told Tripitaka, "read the scriptures in the great hall. I shall transform myself into a little priest, 5 centimeters high, and I shall jump into the box with the jade. When the prince opens the box, I shall jump out, show him the jade, and tell him the dream." Both the follower and his teacher were too excited to sleep that night. At last, the first light of morning came in the east. After giving whispered orders to Pigsy and Sandy to wait quietly for him, Monkey leapt into the air and flew. At once his red eyes found a walled city to the west. The sadness of its people hung in clouds over the city. But as Monkey was watching this sad sight, the gates opened, and the huntsman came out. It was clear from his fine clothes which huntsman was the prince. "Let me play a trick on him," said Monkey to himself. Dear Monkey! Coming down from his cloud, he transformed himself into a small woodland animal, and ran in front of the prince's horse. The prince chased it, and the huntsman followed the prince. Soon Monkey had led all of them to the wood temple. "Of course I have known of this place," said the prince, "although I have never visited it. I will go in." As the prince and his followers went into the great hall, everybody welcomed him and bowed, except Tripitaka. The angry prince told his followers to take the priest and tie him up. But Monkey, now 5 centimeters high and in the box, told the gods to protect Tripitaka, so the huntsman could not touch him. "What magic are you using?" asked the prince. "To protect yourself?" "I have no magic," replied Tripitaka. "I am only a priest from China, on the way to India to fetch the scriptures. But in this box there is someone who knows something very important." As he spoke, Tripitaka opened the box, and out leapt a very small monkey. The prince laughed and said, "What can that little creature know?" But Monkey, to the great surprise of everybody, used his magic to return to his full size. "Prince," he said, "please listen to me. 5 years ago your country had no food because no rain fell. But then a magician came, and he brought rain. Is this true?" "Yes, yes, yes. Go on." "And what happened to the magician?" 3 years ago, when he and my father were walking in the garden, a magic wind blew a piece of jade out of the king's hand, and the magician went back to his mountains with it. But the king, my father, still misses the magician, and he has locked the garden." Monkey laughed, but he asked the huntsman to move away so he could speak privately to the prince. "Sir, it was your father who disappeared. The man in the palace is the magician who brought rain." "That is not true," said the prince. "Here is the piece of jade," said Monkey. "You stole the jade!" shouted the prince to the priest. "Take him away!" Tripitaka shouted fearfully to Monkey, "Oh, Monkey, you fool! What have you done?" "Wait!" cried Monkey. "I am the Monkey King and a follower of Tripitaka. Last night, in this temple, your father came to my master in a dream. He told him that the magician had pushed him into a great water-hole in the palace and changed into a man who looked like him. He could then pretend to be the king. I changed into a hunted animal to lead you here because I wanted to tell you this. Will you believe my story or not?" The young prince did not know what to believe. "Ride home," suggested Monkey. "Take this piece of jade with you, and ask your mother, the queen, if the present king is her husband." The young prince agreed and went back to the palace. He found his mother, the queen, still worried about a dream she had had the night before. "Mother," said the prince, "forgive my words before I speak them. Compare your life with my father in the last 3 years, with the years before that. and tell me if his love is as warm today." In answer, the Queen recited, "3 years ago, something warm and kind. These last 3 years has been as cold as ice." The prince told his mother everything that he had heard that day. Then he showed her the piece of jade. "Oh, my son," said the Queen, "when you came I was crying because of a dream I had last night. I dreamt I saw your father. His head was under water and he was dead. But his soul had visited a priest of Tung and asked him to destroy the magician. He also asked him to save his own body from where it had been thrown. Go quickly and ask that priest to help us." The young prince ran out, jumped on his horse, rode back to the wood temple, and asked the pilgrims to find his father. So the next night, Monkey and Pigsy were at the gates of the locked flower garden. But Monkey had told Pigsy that there was gold at the bottom of the waterhole. He said nothing about the dead king. Pigsy brought his fork down on the lock of the gates and broke it. Inside the garden, Monkey could not stop himself jumping and shouting happily. "Brother," said Pigsy, "you will ruin us, making all that noise." "Why are you trying to make me nervous?" said Monkey. They found the tree that the magician had planted on top of the hole. "Now, Pigsy, the gold is hidden under this tree," said Monkey. At once, the fool Pigsy hit the tree with his fork until it fell down. Then he used his nose to dig under it until, about 1 meter down, he found a big stone. "Brother," he cried, "this is luck! The gold will be under this!" Pigsy used his nose again and lifted the big stone. Below it, something was shining. "That is the gold!" cried Pigsy. But looking closer, they saw it was the light of the stars and the moon in the water. Monkey made his cudgel grow until it was 10 meters long, and Pigsy climbed down it. When he was in the water, he began to swim. Monkey called down to him, "The gold is at the bottom!" So Pigsy dived down, and opening his eyes again, saw a door with a sign on it that said, "The palace at the bottom of the waterhole." Pigsy went in, and a servant called out, "Great King, something awful has happened. A priest with a long nose has come in." The Dragon King of the waterhole was not surprised. "That must be Pigsy," he explained. "He has come with the Monkey King to find the dishonest magician. Please, come in and sit down," he called to Pigsy. Pigsy, happy and wet, sat in the best seat, and asked, "Where is the gold?" "I'm sorry," said the Dragon King, "but I live down here in this hole and never see the sky above. Where would I get gold from?" "Oh, please," said Pigsy, "I know it is here somewhere, so you had better bring it out." "I have one thing that is of value. You can look," said the Dragon King. He led Pigsy to the body of the dead king. Pigsy went back up to Monkey. Monkey told him that the body was better than gold, so Pigsy dived back down again and brought the body up. Monkey looked closely at the body, which had been dead for 3 years. He asked Pigsy, "After 3 years, how can it still look so fresh?" "The Dragon King used a magic stone to keep it like that," Pigsy answered. "That was a bit of luck," said Monkey. But we must still get his enemy and make him pay for this terrible murder, and we will be thanked for our good work. Quickly, Pigsy, carry the king away." "Where to?" asked Pigsy. "To the temple," said Monkey, "to show him to Tripitaka." "What an idea!" Pigsy complained to himself. "I was tricked into doing this job. I do not want to carry this dead body." "Hurry, Pigsy," said Monkey impatiently. "I am not going to carry it," said Pigsy. "If you do not want to be beaten, you will carry it away now," said Monkey. Pigsy feared the cudgel, so he lifted up the dead body and put it on his back. "This monkey," he said to himself, "has played a dirty trick on me, but he will be sorry. When we get back to the temple, I will tell Tripitaka that Monkey can bring the dead to life. Monkey will say that he cannot, and I will tell Tripitaka to recite the spell. Monkey's head will hurt, but I will not be happy until his brains shoot out of his head." They took the body back to the temple and showed it to Tripitaka. He told Monkey to bring it back to life. "Only Yama, King of Death, can do that," said Monkey. "Don't believe him," cried Pigsy. "Just tighten that cap on his head." Poor Monkey! He was soon holding his head in great pain as Tripitaka recited the spell. The cap became tighter and tighter. "But, Master," said Monkey, "what will happen if I fail?" "If someone puts a good breath into him, he will be himself again, even after 3 years under water," said Tripitaka. Pigsy at once offered his breath, but Tripitaka knew that it was not pure. Pigsy had eaten the bodies of humans. So he asked for Monkey, whose food had been only apples and food from the forest. Monkey blew hard into the king's mouth, and his soul returned. Then they all went back to the city to find the magician, who had taken the appearance of the king. When they were led to him, they refused to bow. "And who are you?" asked the false king, surprised. "My master," said Monkey, "is called Tripitaka, and he is like a younger brother to the Emperor of China. I am his main follower." Then he told the false king about Pigsy and Sandy, but he introduced the true king as a temple servant. The false king wanted to know more about this temple servant. He looked at the true king, who was afraid of him, but Monkey whispered, "It's all right. I will speak for you." Dear Monkey! He stepped forwards and cried to the magician in a loud, clear voice, "O king, this old man has had some hard times in his life. 5 years ago, disaster came to his family when heaven sent no rain, and people died because there was no water. Then from the mountains came a magician who helped the people. But he then destroyed this man's life. He pushed him into a great water hole in the palace and became a false king of the people. But I have returned life to the dead man, and he should be king again. Not this magician!" The magician felt fear deep in his heart. Taking a sword from a soldier, he jumped on a cloud and disappeared. Both Sandy and Pigsy were very angry. "Now we will never be able to find him," they shouted. Dear Monkey! Telling Pigsy and Sandy to take good care of the prince, the king, his ministers, the Queen and Tripitaka, he suddenly leapt into the clouds. Looking down, he saw the magician running to the northeast. He shouted, "Where do you think you are going? Monkey has come!" "Keep out of my way!" shouted the magician. Monkey fought a terrible fight with his cudgel against the magician and his sword. But suddenly the magician escaped back to the city. He transformed himself into someone who looked like Tripitaka. Monkey followed him, but did not dare use his cudgel. "Which is the real Tripitaka?" he shouted to Pigsy and Sandy. "We do not know," they answered. "We have no idea." "Master, recite your spell," called Monkey. The real Tripitaka at once recited. Pigsy lifted up his fork as the magician flew up into the air. Dear Pigsy, he chased the magician, with Sandy and Monkey close behind him. What a fight there was then, with 3 wild priests hitting and kicking at one terrible, ugly creature again and again. In the end, Monkey leapt above the creature, and he was going to cut him in half with his cudgel, when a voice said, "Monkey, stop the fight." It was the god Manjusri. He had come down from heaven with a magic mirror which showed demons in their true form. "But I do not understand," said Monkey. "In this mirror, the magician is a tiger." "Yes," said Manjusri. "As a magician, he was acting under Buddha's orders." "What?" cried Monkey. "The magician is protected by Buddha. How can that be?" "Let me explain," said Manjusri. "In the beginning, the true king pleased Buddha so much that he sent me to fetch him to the western heaven. But I said something to the king that offended him. He told his soldiers to throw me into the river. Then Buddha sent this magician to throw the king into the waterhole for 3 years. But now, with your help, he has been forgiven." "Yes, but the people of the city?" asked Monkey. "Nothing has happened to them. During these 3 years, rain has fallen, and there has been peace." "And the Queen, who has slept with him as his wife?" "He has not been a husband to her," was the answer. "He is not a whole man." "Then take him away," said Monkey. "He can thank you for saving him." Manjusri said a spell. The magician returned to his tiger shape, and the god rode him away over the clouds. As the pilgrims travelled further on their journey to the west, they heard a noise that sounded like 1,000 voices. Dear Monkey, he leapt high into the clouds, looked down, and at a little distance he saw a hill outside a city. There a great crowd of Buddhist priests were carrying bricks and wood for building. They were hot and tired, and crying out to the God of power to give them strength. "They're going to build a temple," thought Monkey. But suddenly the gates of the city opened, and 2 Taoist priests came out. Monkey saw at once that the Buddhists were afraid of them. He thought, "This must be the city I have heard about. The religion of Buddha has been destroyed here." Monkey transformed himself into a Taoist magician, walked towards the 2 young Taoist priests, and bowed low. "Can a poor Taoist find food in this city?" "Oh, yes," said the priests. "Even the king is pleased to give food to Taoists. 20 years ago, there was not enough food in this place, and it was saved by 3 Taoist immortals who came out of the sky. They can bring wind or rain or turn stones into gold. Your king is lucky to have these immortals here. I would like to meet him. That is no problem, said the priests. But first we must count those Buddhists and check that they are working well. But they are priests like us. We should not make them work. Well, when we had no food, the Buddhists prayed to Buddha with no success at all. We Taoists prayed to our gods, and we were successful. So they are not really priests, and we should really destroy their temples. But now they work for us as builders and cleaners. Then I cannot meet your masters, Monkey said, because I am looking for an uncle who became a Buddhist priest. That is no problem, they replied. Take our list and check while we wait here. See if your uncle is among our priests. As Monkey walked towards the priests with the list, they all went down on their knees in front of him. Please don't harm us, Father, they said. We have all worked hard, and we have never been ill or missed work. Monkey told them to get up. He said that they did not need to fear him. He was only looking for his uncle. Hearing this, they all crowded near him. Which of us do you want? They asked. Monkey laughed. You are priests, he said. Why do you work as servants instead of reading the scriptures? Oh, don't laugh at us, cried the priests. Our king has chosen other masters, and we do what they tell us. The 3 immortals are very powerful and can perform a lot of magic. Now they are using magic to keep the king young. That is why he obeys them. Why do you not run away? Asked Monkey. There are pictures of us in every part of the country, and there are police everywhere. Many of us have taken our own lives, but the spirits tell us that one day a pilgrim will come, and with him is a follower called the Monkey King. He will use his great powers to right wrongs, and he will free us. Monkey went back to the 2 Taoist priests. They asked him if he had found his relative. They are all relatives of mine, replied Monkey. 200 on my father's side, and 300 on my mother's. I would like you to free them. We cannot do that, said the priests. 1 or 2 of them can stop work if they are ill, but all of them? Impossible! You must be mad. Really? Said Monkey, and taking his cudgel, he killed them where they stood. The Buddhists came running. Oh, what have you done? They said. The people will say that we killed the priests. You must come to the king at once and explain that you are responsible. I am not what you think I am, said Monkey. I am the one who has come to free you. But you are a murderer, said the Buddhist priests. The spirits described the one who will free us. He has a flat head, bright red eyes, a hairy face, and no chin. Monkey transformed himself back from a Taoist priest into himself, and the Buddhists bowed in front of him. Now, go away from here, cried Monkey. But first, I shall give you some protecting magic. Dear Monkey. He pulled out a handful of his hairs, bit them into pieces, and gave a small piece to each of the Buddhists. Put this behind your ear. If you are in any danger, press your ear and call out, Monkey King! I will come at once to help you. even if I am thousands of kilometers away." Some of the braver priests tested the hares and called out, "Monkey King!" At once a thunder god with a great cudgel appeared. "If you say quiet, he will disappear," Monkey told them. And at the word quiet, he disappeared. "Don't go far from this place, and there will be news for you soon," Monkey called as the priests departed. He left to tell Tripitaka what had happened. As the pilgrims entered the city, some people were afraid of them. But an old Buddhist priest recognized Monkey and shouted, "I have dreamt of you, Monkey King. Thanks to you, we are not ghosts. We are living men." That night, Monkey's head was so full of plans for the next day that he could not sleep. He got up, looked down into the street, and saw that the Taoists were all celebrating in the temple. They were led by the three immortals. At once, Monkey went to find Pigsy and Sandy. "Come and have some fun," he whispered in Sandy's ear. "Who wants fun in the middle of the night?" said Sandy sleepily. "The Taoist temple has plenty of food in it," said Monkey. "Bread, cake, fruit, sweets." Pigsy woke up at the sound of a list of food. "Brother, I am coming too!" he cried. When they arrived at the temple, Pigsy could not wait. "They are all still praying," he complained. "I will soon stop that," said Monkey, and he blew hard. A great wind passed through the temple, blowing everything onto the ground and putting all the lights out. Frightened in the dark, all the Taoists ran away. The three pilgrims went inside, and the three of them finished all the food. But a little Taoist remembered that he had left his handbell in the temple and went back for it. He opened the door and saw that all the food was gone. He ran away to fetch the three immortals. When they came, one of them thought that their gods had eaten the food. "Let's pray to them," the immortals said, "for long life for the king." Then Monkey jumped out and called to them. "How could you be such fools?" he said. "We are not gods. We are priests from China. We have eaten all your food, and your king will have to go somewhere else for a long life." The Taoist immortals attacked the pilgrims, but Monkey took Sandy in one hand and Pigsy in the other and leapt onto a cloud with them. In no time, they were back in their beds in the hotel where they were staying with Tripitaka. Next day, the king was very angry when he heard that 3 Buddhist pilgrims wanted to see him. But one of his ministers stepped forward.
"The country of Tung is 50,000 kilometers away," he said. "If they really come from there, they must have magic powers. Let's hear them."
So the king allowed the pilgrims to come in. But before they could speak, 3 important Taoists came in and made a report to the king. "Yesterday," they said, "these 3 killed 2 of our followers and helped 500 Buddhist priests to escape. That night they went into our temple and ate all the food." The angry king ordered the immediate death of the 3 pilgrims. But before anyone could do anything about the order, some men arrived asking urgently for rain. The king thought about the pilgrims' magic powers. "There will be a rain-making competition between you and the immortals," he said to the pilgrims. "If you win, you will go free. If you lose, you will die." A tower was quickly built, and the king, the pilgrims, and the immortals went outside. "You must say what you are going to pray for," said Monkey to an immortal. "How else will we know if you are successful?" When the king heard Monkey's words, he said, "This little priest is a sensible monkey." "There's no need to tell you," said the immortal. "The king knows what I am going to do." "That is not what I mean. We must each have our program. If we do not, we will get confused." "Yes, fine. I shall cry out 4 times, said the immortal. "At the first cry, wind will come. At the second, clouds will appear in the sky. At the third, you will hear thunder. At the fourth, rain will fall. But I shall cry out once more, and the rain will stop." "Please begin," said Monkey. "This will be very entertaining for us." The tower was 10 meters high. On each side there were the 28 flags of the great house of the moon. There was a long table with burners on it, which gave a sweet-smelling smoke. There was a metal plate with the name of the Thunder Spirit written on it next to each burner. At the foot of the table there were 5 great bowls of clear water with flowers in them. Behind the tower were some Taoists writing down religious teachings. The immortal went to the tower and climbed to the top. With his sword in his hand, he recited spells, and a strong wind was heard and felt in the air above.
"That is bad," whispered Pigsy. "He is winning."
"Quiet, brother," whispered Monkey, "and leave it to me." Dear Monkey, he leapt into the air and cried, "Who is in charge of the wind?" At once the old woman of the wind appeared. "I am protecting Tripitaka on his way to India," said Monkey. "We are having a rain-making competition with the immortals here. Why are you helping them instead of us?" "Stop that wind!" cried Monkey. And immediately the wind stopped. The immortal now hit the tower hard, and the sky filled with clouds. "Who is in charge of the clouds?" cried Monkey, and the cloud boy appeared in front of him. "Stop the clouds!" he commanded, and again the sky became clear. The immortal loosened his hair, and then knocked again on the tower. The thunder god and the mother of lightning appeared in the sky, but they bowed towards Monkey. "The Jade Emperor in heaven," they said, "ordered us to make a storm." "You are allowed to do that," said Monkey, "but not yet." As there was no thunder and no lightning, the immortal was confused as well as angry. "Listen well," said Monkey up in the sky. "Here are my orders. When I point my cudgel upwards once, you will give me wind. Twice, and you will give me clouds. 3 times, thunder and lightning. And 4 times, rain. And when I point it a 5th time, you will stop the storm." The immortal sadly left the tower and went to speak to the king. "I have been watching," said the king. "You have not produced either wind or rain. What is wrong?" "The rain dragons are not at home today," said the immortal. "Don't believe him," cried Monkey. "They are all at home. That immortal has no real power over them. We, the followers of Buddha, will soon put them to work. You will see." "Go to the tower," said the king to Monkey. "I will wait here and see if there is any rain." "I need your help too," said Monkey to Tripitaka. "Go quietly to the tower and start reciting your scriptures." "My dear friend," said Tripitaka, "I do not know anything about making rain." "Don't let him pull you into this," whispered Pigsy to Tripitaka. "He will blame you if no rain comes." "It is true that you do not know how to make rain," said Monkey to Tripitaka. "But you know how to recite the scriptures. If you do that, I will do the rest." Tripitaka went up the tower, sat down, and began silently reciting. Then Monkey took his cudgel from behind his ear and made it bigger until it was nearly 1 meter long. He pointed it towards the sky. The Old Woman of the Wind brought out her bag, and when she opened it, a great wind rushed out of it. It blew through the city, lifting stones and rocks high into the air. Monkey pointed again, and a black cloud covered the sky, so the people of the city could not even see their palace. He pointed again, and loud thunder shook the earth. When he pointed a 4th time, rain fell down until it seemed that the yellow river had fallen out of the sky. In seconds, the whole city was under water. The people of the city were filled with terror, and they all began saying their prayers. The rain fell from early morning until midday. "Enough!" cried the king. "Stop the rain, or nothing will grow this year." Monkey at once pointed a 5th time with his cudgel, and the storm stopped. There was not even a cloud in the sky. "Wonderful priests!" cried the happy king. "So it is true. There is always a stronger magic than the strongest. In the past, we have seen our immortals bring rain successfully, but even they could not stop it suddenly. Light rain always continued for the rest of the day, but these priests stopped the rain completely." The immortal began making excuses. "You said that the rain dragons were not at home," the king said, "and that made it impossible to get rain. But look, the Buddhists, in their quiet way, made the rain fall. They were successful, not you." Again, the immortal tried to change the king's mind, but Monkey jumped in front of him and spoke to the king. "Sir, the Dragon Kings made the wind, the clouds, and the rain. They are still in the sky. So would you like to see them?" "Of course," cried the king. "I have been king for a long time, but I have never seen a dragon. I will reward anyone who can show me one. But if you do not produce a dragon, you will be punished." The Taoists knew quite well that this was beyond their powers. They tried, but no dragon answered their call. Then it was Monkey's turn. "Are you there?" Monkey called up into the sky. "Let's have a look at you and your brothers." When the 4 Dragon Kings immediately appeared through the clouds, the king began to burn sweet-smelling sticks. His ministers went down on their knees in front of them. "I feel ashamed," said the king. "I have troubled them for no reason. Tell them that I do not want to trouble them any more. I will find an opportunity to repay them soon with offerings." "Spirits, you can leave us now," said Monkey. "The king will repay you with offerings at the earliest opportunity." The dragons flew off, each to his own ocean, and again the sky was clear. The king gave orders for a banquet the next day to thank the pilgrims. All the Buddhists were invited to return to the city, and they were welcomed to the banquet by the king himself. After the banquet, the Buddhist priests took the pilgrims to the gates of the city, and they gave Monkey back the hairs he had given them. Then Monkey said, Now you can see that Buddhism is the true way. But you must obey all priests, Taoist priests too, and become better men. Then these hills and streams will be safe forever." The king himself rode out with the pilgrims far beyond the city's walls, where they said goodbye. Chapter 5. The River to Heaven. "What has happened to Tripitaka?" shouted Monkey from the air. "There is no Tripitaka now," Pigsy shouted back. They travelled without stopping for many days. Then Tripitaka stopped his horse and said to Monkey, "Follower, when and where are we going to rest?" "Comfort," answered Monkey, "is for ordinary people, so pilgrims cannot expect it. By day or by night, in wet or dry weather, if there is a road to travel, we must continue." Soon Sandy shouted, "There is a great river in front of us!" "Wait here," cried Monkey, leaping high into the air. Soon he was back. "I cannot see land on the other side," he said, "but I thought I saw a fisherman. He was standing at the water's edge. I will ask him about the river." But it was not a fisherman that Monkey had seen. It was a sign that said, "The river that leads to heaven. Few people have reached the other side." When Tripitaka read this, he cried quietly. "I knew so little of the difficulties in our way on the road to India," he said. "Listen," said Pigsy. "That music means there are priests praying somewhere near here. They will tell us how we can get across the river." Following the sound, they soon saw a village of several hundred houses. One of them had a flag at its gate and lights outside. "I shall go in first," said Tripitaka, "because you three look a little strange, and I do not want people to be frightened." An old man came to the door, and when he saw Tripitaka, he said,
"You have come a little late. The banquet is almost finished, and there is not much to eat."
"I did not come for the banquet," answered Tripitaka. "I have come from China, and I would like a bed for the night, if that is possible."
"China is a very long way away,"
said the old man, whose name was Jen.
"How do I know that your words are true?"
"My 3 followers have helped me on the journey. They have made it possible for me to travel so far."
"Well, they had better come in with you."
The 3 pilgrims came rushing in out of the dark, leading the white horse carrying the luggage, and shouting. The old man fell on the floor, crying,
"Demons! Help! Demons!"
"Not demons," said Tripitaka, "but my followers. I know they are ugly, but they are very good at fighting tigers, dragons, and other creatures." A group of praying priests jumped up and ran away in fear. The pilgrims laughed so loudly at this that the priests ran even faster. "You fools!" cried Tripitaka to his followers. "I have tried so hard to teach you to behave correctly. Learn this. It is admirable to be good without being taught. It is normal to be good after being taught. Only a fool is taught, and then is still bad. Do you not understand that I will have to take the blame for this?" The 3 stood silently, so the old man believed that they really were followers of Tripitaka. He sat Tripitaka in the best place at the table, and food was brought for them all. Tripitaka began to recite the scripture before eating, But Pigsy poured all the food into his mouth from the bowl before Tripitaka had finished. As Pigsy was calling, "More food! More food!" to the servants, the old man spoke to Tripitaka.
"Did you read the sign by the river? You were quite near the temple of the great king of magic," he said. "He is the god who sends us rain. He makes things grow."
But as he spoke, he began to cry loudly. "Why are you crying when you speak of the god?" asked Monkey.
"Oh, that god is an angry god, and every year he takes the life of a boy and a girl, so we have few children here. I have one child, a son called Warboy, and my brother has one girl called Much Gold. This year our family must give the children to the god, and both of them must die."
"Let me see the boy," said Monkey. The boy was brought down from his bed and ran around eating fruit. Without a word, Monkey transformed himself into a boy who looked exactly the same.
"That is unbelievable," cried the father. "Look, when I call, both come running to me."
Monkey then changed back to his own form. "I'm going to save this child's life," he said to the father. "I will let the great king of magic kill me for the gods." The old man's brother was standing in the doorway, watching and crying. "I think you are worried about your daughter," said Monkey.
"Father," said the old man, "I cannot lose her. She is my only child. Who will cry for me when I die?"
Monkey pointed at Pigsy. "If you feed that long-nosed brother of mine enough," he said, "he will transform himself into your girl and do anything else you ask. The great king of magic can kill us both together." Pigsy was shocked. "Leave me out of this," he said. "You know what they say," said Monkey. "Even a chicken must work for its food."
"I am no good at transformations," complained Pigsy. "I can change into a mountain or a tree, but it is much more difficult to change into a small girl."
"Don't believe him," said Monkey to the girl's father. "Bring your child." Soon the man returned with his child, and all the priests and servants asked Pigsy to save her. "Here she is," said Monkey. "Have a look, and be quick." The fool Pigsy shook his head, said a spell, and cried, "Change!" His head was now the same as the child's, but his big stomach had not changed. "You can hit me if you like," complained Pigsy, "but I cannot do any better than that." "I can see that I will have to help," said Monkey, and he blew on Pigsy, who was soon like the child from head to foot. "What happens now?" asked Monkey. "How are we brought to the god?" The girl's father came forward.
"It is quite simple," he said. "You sit in 2 dishes. 2 men carry you to the temple, and then the great king of magic eats you."
"Watch me," Monkey said to Pigsy. "While he is cutting me into pieces, you can run away."
"But he might begin with the girl," cried Pigsy. "No," said Warboy's father quietly. "The meal always begins with the boy." "Well, that is lucky," said Pigsy.
Suddenly, they all saw lights outside and heard the sound of voices as the gate opened. A loud voice cried, "Bring out the boy and the girl!" The 2 fathers cried, while the great king's servants carried the boy and the girl away. "Great king," said the villagers, when everything was ready. "We now offer you a boy-child, War-boy, and a girl-child, Much Gold, with a pig, a sheep, and some wine." Then they went back to their homes. "I think I will go home too," said Pigsy. "You have no home," said Monkey. "What rubbish you talk! We have started this job, and now we have to finish it." Just then a strong wind blew through the door, and as it opened, the great king appeared. He was a horrible creature, with eyes like fire and teeth like a pig. "Which family do you come from?" asked the great king. "The family of Chen," answered Monkey. The king did not understand why the boy was so brave. Usually the children were too frightened to talk before they were killed. "You understand that I am now going to eat you?" "Do it," said Monkey. "You are too brave," said the great king. "This time I shall begin with the girl." "No, no," said Pigsy. "It is never a good idea to change an old custom. Do what you usually do. That is always best." The fool leapt off his dish, changed back into Pigsy, took his fork, and hit the great king. Then he and Monkey leapt into the air, just as the great king changed into a wind and disappeared into the river. "Oh, let him go now," said Monkey. "We will finish him tomorrow and get our master across the river." So they returned to Chen's farm, where they were soon asleep in the best room in the house. But under the river, the great king was unhappy. He told his fish servants what had happened. He told them about Tripitaka, who was like a god. If somebody ate him, they would never die. The great king's fish sister made a suggestion. "Start a cold wind and a great fall of snow, so the river freezes. Then some of us will change into human form and walk across it, carrying luggage. Tripitaka is in such a hurry to get to India that he will walk across it too. When you hear him above you, heat the ice. The pilgrims will fall through it, and you will have them all." Just before the sun came up, Tripitaka and his followers began to feel cold. "Pilgrims," said Monkey, "should not feel either heat or cold." But they could not sleep, and when they looked out of the window, everything was white. The snow was so lovely that they sat and watched it fall. It was like small pieces of white jade. Soon servants brought them hot water to wash in, hot tea to drink, and hot food to eat. They even brought heaters for the rooms, but when the meal was finished, the pilgrims were colder than ever. By now there was nearly a meter of snow outside, and seeing this, Tripitaka began to cry. But towards evening, everyone was talking about the river. It had frozen, and people were walking on the ice. The next morning the ice was even thicker, and Tripitaka gave thanks to the gods for this chance to walk across the river. "Master," said Sandy, "should we not wait until the ice goes away? Then we can go across the river in Mr. Chen's boat." "But if we wait until the spring," said Tripitaka, "we will lose half a year's travelling. I promised the goddess Kuan Yin that the journey would take 3 years. Already 7 have passed." He ordered Pigsy to put the luggage on the horse, and they left. When they had gone 15 or 20 kilometres across the ice, Pigsy showed Tripitaka how to carry his stick across his body. "Ice often has holes in it," he explained. If you put your foot in a hole, you will go down into the water. It will close above you, and you will never get out again. Carry your stick across your body, and you will feel safer." Monkey looked disbelieving, but they all did as Pigsy had said. They rowed all night until the sun began to come up. Then they stopped to eat some food from their luggage, and then continued towards the west. But after some time, the ice began to break, and the white horse almost fell. They continued walking, not knowing that the great king and his fish followers were waiting below. Suddenly, a great hole opened in the ice. Monkey at once leapt high into the air, but the white horse and all the others fell through it. The great king took Tripitaka and carried him down to the great palace under the water. "Where is my fish sister?" said the great king. "Come, fetch the sharp knives. Let's eat Tripitaka and live forever." "Great king," answered the fish sister, "let's wait for a couple of days, until we can be sure that his followers cannot spoil our fun." The king agreed, and Tripitaka was put in a great stone box at the back of the palace. At the same time, Pigsy and Sandy had managed to get the luggage out of the water and put it onto the horse's back. They started swimming back the way they had come. "What has happened to Tripitaka?" shouted Monkey from the air. "There is no Tripitaka now," Pigsy shouted back. "We are going back to Chen's farm." CD4. Mr. Chen cried uncontrollably when he heard what had happened to Tripitaka. "Don't worry," said Monkey. "I think the master will live for a long time. Let's dry our clothes, and then we will go back and finish that creature." Back at the river, Monkey asked Pigsy to carry him down, while Sandy swam behind them. And at the bottom of the river they found a gate with the sign Turtle House written on it. Monkey whispered, "You two hide at each side of the door." Then he changed himself into a fish and swam inside. The great king and his fish followers were talking about eating Tripitaka, but Monkey could not see his master. Then he heard Tripitaka crying inside a stone box. "Don't worry," said Monkey. "We will soon get you out." "Be quick! Oh, be quick!" cried Tripitaka from inside his box. "I'm going now," said Monkey, "but I shall return." And soon he and Pigsy and Sandy were back at the riverbank. "I'm not at my best in the water, so it is not a good plan for me to go down again and fight the great king," said Monkey. "I shall go to the goddess of the Southern Ocean for help. I shall not waste a minute." Dear Monkey, he shot up in the air on a magic light, leapt on a cloud, and found Kuan Yin. She was expecting him, but had not finished getting dressed. "Let's leave now," she said when she saw Monkey. "We will go and save Tripitaka." Monkey went down on his knees in front of her. "Do you not want to finish dressing first?" he asked. "It is too much trouble," she answered. "I am going like this." She left on her cloud, followed by Monkey. "Well, that was quick," said Pigsy as they appeared. "You did well to get a goddess to come immediately, before she had even finished combing her hair." The goddess sailed low over the river like a cloud. Untying the belt from her dress, she tied a basket to it and pulled the basket through the water. She repeated the words, "The dead go, the living stay," 7 times, and pulled the basket up. There was a gold fish in it. Its tail moved, and its eye stared. "Go at once into the water and fetch your master," said the goddess to Monkey. "But what shall I do with the great king?" asked Monkey. "The great king is in the basket," said the goddess. "He used to live in a little pool in my garden. Every day he used to put his head out and listen to the scriptures, until at last he held great magical powers. But one day there was a great storm, and the water took him far out to sea. I thought that he might be using his magic against your master, so without stopping to comb my hair, I made this magic basket to catch him in." "If you want to make humans believe in the gods," said Monkey, "you will wait here. I will call the people of the village to hear this story and look at your golden face." So men and women, young and old, were soon hurrying to the river to go down on their knees in front of the goddess. One of them later painted a famous painting called Kuan Yin with the fish basket. When the goddess had returned to the southern ocean, Pigsy and Sandy dived down to the great king's palace. All the great king's fish followers were dead, so they soon helped Tripitaka out of the stone box and took him back to Chen's farm. "We are sorry, sirs," said the Chen brothers, "that you had so many problems." "Oh, that is all finished now," said Monkey. "The important thing is that next year and every other year your village will not lose its children. But we would be glad if you could give us a boat to carry us across the river." All the villagers started to make boats. But when the pilgrims went back to the river, they heard a voice. "Oh, great Monkey King, you do not need to build a boat. I will take you." And above the waters they saw the white head and the enormous body of a turtle. "You!" cried Monkey. "You, demon! If you come near us, I will kill you with my cudgel." "Great Monkey King," said the turtle, "listen to me. I am not a follower of the great king. His palace below the river used to be mine. Then one day that creature came swimming into the river, killed many of my family, and made the others work for him. I am grateful for all that you have done. You have made us free again." "Promise me, and promise the gods, that this is all true," said Monkey. The turtle opened his red mouth wide. "I promise you and all the gods, if I do not take Tripitaka safely across the river, my bones will turn to water." The turtle came out of the river, and people saw that his back was 15 meters wide. "Climb on the turtle's back," called Monkey to the others. "He has promised that we will be safe. When creatures speak human language, their words are usually true." The white horse was led to the middle of the turtle's back. Tripitaka stood to the left, Sandy to the right, and Pigsy behind the horse's tail. Monkey put himself in front of the horse's head. "Now, Turtle," he cried, "go gently, because if you do not, there will be a cudgel on your head." With this warning, the turtle moved smoothly over the water. As the pilgrims left, all the people of the village bowed and thanked Buddha. The turtle travelled quickly, and in less than a day they had arrived at the other side. Tripitaka said to the turtle, "I have nothing that I can give you, but I would like to thank you for taking us across the river."
"Master," replied the turtle, "there is something you could do for me. I have been trying to become perfect for about 1,000 years, and that is a long time. I can now use human speech, but I am still a turtle. Please ask the Buddha if I can become a human."
Tripitaka gladly promised to ask Buddha the question, and the turtle swam back to his home in the river. Again, Pigsy carried the luggage, and Monkey helped Tripitaka onto the white horse. With Sandy behind them, they soon found the road to the west. They travelled for many months. The country was very different from anything they had seen before. The flowers were like jewels. The grass looked magical, and there were strange and wonderful trees. In every village, families were entertaining priests. On every hill, immortals were practicing control over their bodies. In every wood, pilgrims were reciting and singing. Every night they found somewhere to stay, and left again at the first light of day. They travelled on in this way for many more days, until suddenly the light grew bright, and they saw a wonderful castle. "Monkey," said Tripitaka admiringly, pointing at it, "that's a fine place." "Do you remember," said Monkey, "how often on our journey you have bowed in front of the caves and hiding places and palaces of false magicians? It is strange that you do not even get off your horse now, when you see the Buddha's holy castle." So Tripitaka, in great excitement, jumped down from his horse. When they reached the gates, a young priest came out to greet them. He asked, "Are you the pilgrims who have come from the east for the scriptures?" The boy was dressed in beautiful clothes, and carried a bowl of jade dust in his hand. Monkey knew him at once, and turned to Tripitaka. "This," he said, "is the golden-headed immortal of the Jade Temple at the foot of the holy mountain." "Here you are at last," said the golden-headed immortal. "It is now 10 years since the goddess Kuan Yin told me to expect your arrival. Year after year I have waited, but there has been no sign." "Great immortal," said Tripitaka, bowing low, "I cannot thank you enough for your patience." Inside the temple, sweet-smelling hot water was brought to wash in, and after supper the pilgrims were shown to their beds. Early the next day, Tripitaka put on his finest clothes and jewellery, and greeted the young immortal. "That is better," said the young immortal. "Yesterday you looked rather untidy, but today you look like a true child of Buddha. You must let me show you the way. Monkey knows it, but only by air, and you must travel on the ground." Taking Tripitaka by the hand, he led the pilgrims through the temple gardens to the back of the building, and up a path to the hill behind. "Do you see that mountain in front of you?" said the young immortal, pointing up. "That is where Buddha has his home. I shall now turn back." Tripitaka at once began bowing low, hitting his head on the holy ground. "If you are going to do that all the way up," said Monkey, "there will not be much of your head left by the time we get there." So Tripitaka stopped bowing, and they climbed some way, walking easily. Then they came to a fast-moving river with rough water. Tripitaka said, "This cannot be the way." But then he saw a bridge, and a sign which said, "Cloud Reach Bridge." When they came to the bridge, They saw that it was just some trees laid end to end. It was only a little wider than a man's hand. "Monkey!" cried Tripitaka, afraid. "I cannot walk across that." "Yes, yes, people walk across it to get to the Buddha. Wait while I show you how." Dear monkey! He walked confidently up to the bridge, leapt lightly onto it, and was soon waving from the other side. "Follow me!" he shouted back. But Pigsy and Sandy repeated to themselves, "It cannot be done." Tripitaka did not move at all. Monkey leapt back again and started pulling at Pigsy. "Fool! Follow me across!" But Pigsy lay flat on the ground and refused to move. "If you do not come, how will you ever become a Buddha?" said Monkey. "Buddha or no Buddha," answered Pigsy, "I will not go on that bridge." As they all started arguing, a boatman appeared with a boat. He was shouting, "Who wants to cross the river?" But when the boat came nearer, they saw that it had no bottom. Monkey, with his sharp eyesight, had recognized the boatman as the bringer of souls, but he did not tell the others. "How can you take people across a river in a bottomless boat?" asked Tripitaka. "Many pilgrims ask me that," he answered, "but since the beginning of time I have carried too many souls to count." "Get in the boat, master," said Monkey. "You'll find that it will carry you quite easily and pleasantly." But Tripitaka still did not get in, so Monkey pushed him into the boat, and Tripitaka immediately fell out into the water. The boatman caught him and pulled him in again. He sat there, unhappily squeezing the water out of his clothes, and complaining to Monkey, who had more important things to think about. Monkey put Pigsy, Sandy, and the white horse on the side of the boat with Tripitaka. The boat left, and the boatman had taken them some way down the river when they saw a body in the water. Tripitaka looked very frightened. Monkey laughed. "Don't be frightened, master," he said. "That is you." And Pigsy cried, "It is you! It is you!" The boatman said the same words to Tripitaka, adding, "There you go! Congratulations!" Safe on the other side of the river, Tripitaka stepped out of the boat. His earthly body was gone now, gone into the river, and all the foolishness of his early years was washed away. He now had the highest wisdom, the wisdom of the far side of the river, and there is no end to that wisdom. Before they could thank him, the boatman and his boat had disappeared, and now Monkey explained who the boatman was. Tripitaka began thanking his followers for all they had done for him, but Monkey interrupted. "We should all give thanks to each other," he said. "This journey was too difficult for one man alone, and without all of us, the Master could not lose his human body." With a strange feeling of lightness and great happiness, they went up the holy mountain. Near the top, immortals greeted the pilgrims, and then they were met by the keeper of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. "So you are here at last, great priest," he smiled. "Your follower, Swansung, the priest Tripitaka, has finally arrived," said Tripitaka, bowing. The great Buddha was very pleased at the news, and ordered all the gods to come to him. Then his command was shouted for everyone to hear. "The priest of Tung must be brought in." Tripitaka, Monkey, Pigsy, and Sandy all went in, followed by the white horse and the luggage. In the great hall, they first lay flat in front of Buddha, then bowed to the right and to the left. Then Tripitaka said, "The follower of Buddha, Xuanzang, has come by order of the emperor of the great land of Tung to fetch the true scriptures. They will save all the people of the world. I ask the great Buddha for these scriptures, and also to allow me a quick return to my own country." Then the great Buddha said these words, "In all your great eastern land there is killing and lying. There are bad thoughts and bad actions. But I have 3 baskets of scriptures that can save the people. One contains the law, which tells of heaven. One contains the lessons, which tell of earth. One contains the scriptures, which save the dead. They are written in 15,144 books. They are the path to perfection, the gate that leads to true good. In them you can learn everything about men, birds, animals, flowers, trees, stars, and earth. I would like to give them all to you, but the people of China are too foolish to understand them. So, a few books from each basket will be given to these priests to take back to the east." The pilgrims were taken to a lower room and shown the books from each basket. Then they were given food of a beauty and taste that was unknown on earth. When they had finished eating, 2 followers of Buddha took them to a special room down some stairs. The door was opened, and a magic light filled the room. On the many beautiful jeweled boxes were written the names of the holy books. The 2 followers of Buddha led Tripitaka to the place where the scriptures lay. After inviting him to study the titles, they asked Tripitaka to show them the gifts he had brought for them. They planned to give him the scriptures in return. "I have brought nothing at all for you," said Tripitaka. "On my journey I have sometimes received gifts, but nobody has ever asked for gifts in return." And Monkey, hearing these words, shouted angrily, "Come with me, master. We will see what Buddha says about this." One of the 2 followers said quickly, "There is no need to shout. Come here and fetch your scriptures." The pilgrims hid their anger, put the scriptures on the horse's back, and bowed to Buddha's followers. Then they left, down the mountain. The Buddha of the past was sitting in an upper room, and had heard everything the 2 followers had said. He was sure that they had given the pilgrims scriptures with nothing written on them, because they had received no gifts. So he sent a messenger after the pilgrims, and of course, the Buddha of the past was correct. When the pilgrims opened the scriptures, they saw only white pages. Tripitaka cried, "How can I go back to the emperor of Tung with these? He will think I am laughing at him. He will order my death." "I know the reason for this. Those 2 followers did not get any gifts, so you did not get any scriptures. We will have to go back to the Buddha," said Monkey. They went back at once. "Listen to this," shouted Monkey to Buddha. "They have given us white pages with no words on them, because we did not bring them gifts." "You need not shout," said Buddha, smiling. "I have sometimes thought that perhaps it should not be too easy to get the scriptures. My 2 followers expected a gift because of a bad experience they had. Not long ago, I gave them permission to go down the mountain with some scriptures. After letting Chow read a few scriptures to his people, my followers were given only some rice in return. The result of hearing these scriptures was that his people were protected from all their enemies. Afterwards, I told my 2 followers that they had sold the scriptures too cheaply. So you see, they are not to blame. In fact, these white pages are the true scriptures, but the people of China are not very clever, so they cannot understand such things. You had better have some scriptures with writing on them." This time, Tripitaka offered the 2 Buddhist followers the only gift he could think of, his golden bowl. He had received this bowl from the Emperor of China, who told him to use it for collecting money from kind people on his journey. The followers accepted the gift, but many of the gods laughed because it was such a small present. As they started to leave again, the goddess Kuan Yin appeared in front of Buddha. "I found this man for you, and he has now fetched the scriptures. It took him 5,040 days. The number of chapters in the scriptures is 5,048. Please allow him to make the return journey in 8 days. Then the numbers will be the same." "That is a good idea," said Buddha. "I will make sure that it is done." Buddha then sent for 8 of his messengers, and said to them, "Use your magic powers, and carry Tripitaka back to the east. When he has left the scriptures, bring him back here. All of this must be done in 8 days." Buddha's messengers went immediately to put Tripitaka and the pilgrims on a magic cloud, and as the pilgrims flew away, they had little idea of what was going to happen next. Chapter 6. The End of the Journey. "Hey," said Pigsy, "you have just made the others Buddhas. Why am I not a Buddha too?" Many protectors had watched over Tripitaka and his followers on their frightening but wonderful journey to the west. Now the protectors appeared to Kuan Yin. "We wish to report that we have followed your holy orders, and without his knowledge we have protected the young priest of Tung on his journey to the west." "I would like to know," said the goddess, "how the pilgrims behaved on their journey." "They were brave, they never gave up, and they never forgot the importance of their work. They had many problems along the way, too many to tell, but we have a record of the most difficult fights." The protectors then read to the goddess Kuan Yin a list of all the fights that the pilgrims had fought. They had fought on their journey against animals, humans, and spirits. Kuan Yin read the list slowly and carefully. "Tripitaka falls into a hole and is attacked by a tiger, but is saved by his follower, Monkey." She finished with Tripitaka losing his human body when he stepped into the bottomless boat. "In our religion, 9 times 9 is a very important number. You have listed 80 fights," said the goddess. "That is 1 short of the holy number of 81. There has to be 1 more fight, so please arrange it." When the goddess had spoken, the protectors immediately stopped the magic wind that was carrying the pilgrims through space. Suddenly, and without any warning, the horse, the scriptures, the master, Monkey, Sandy, and Pigsy all fell down to earth. Tripitaka looked very surprised to find himself standing on the ground instead of flying through the air. Pigsy laughed and laughed. "Well, you never know what is going to happen next, do you?" he said. "One minute we are rushing at great speed. The next minute we have both feet on the ground." Sandy said,
"I think that it was very thoughtful of them. They probably thought we would like a rest."
"Well," said Monkey, "if you sit without moving for 10 days, then surely you will speed down 9 waterfalls in 1 day." "That is enough rubbish," said Tripitaka. "Will you please try to find out where we are?"
I know, said Sandy, looking around. "Listen to that sound of water."
"It makes Sandy feel at home," said Monkey.
"It must be,"
Pigsy started to say, but Sandy interrupted him.
"It is the river that leads to heaven, and this is the western river bank,"
Sandy said.
"I recognize it now," said Tripitaka. "On the other side is Mr. Chen's farm, where you saved the boy and the girl from the great king. They were very grateful to us and wanted to build a boat for us. In the end, the turtle carried us across. I remember that on this side there are no houses at all. How are we going to manage this time?"
"A trick like this from humans is to be expected," said Pigsy, "but not from Buddha's own followers. Buddha told them to take us straight back to China. What do they mean by dropping us in the middle of the journey? They have left us in a difficult situation."
"I do not know what you two are complaining about," said Sandy. "The master is not a common mortal now. We saw his earthly body go past down the Cloud River. He will not sink into the water this time. With all 3 of us to help him, he will surely be able to get across."
Monkey smiled to himself. "It is not going to be as easy as that," he said. Why did Monkey say that it was not going to be easy? They had enough magic power to cross 1,000 rivers. But Monkey knew that the number 9 times 9 had not yet been reached. He knew that Buddha expected one more fight. They walked along slowly, wondering what to do. Suddenly they heard a voice saying,
"Priest of Tongue! Priest of Tongue! Come over here!"
As there was nobody on land and no boat on the river, they were very surprised. But suddenly a large white head appeared in the water.
"Well," called the turtle, "I have been waiting for you all this time."
"We are very glad to meet you," said Monkey. "Come a little closer." Once again the turtle came out of the river. Monkey led the white horse, and then the pilgrims, carrying their luggage, onto its back. Pigsy sat behind its tail, Tripitaka stood on one side of its head, and Sandy on the other. Monkey stood with one foot on its neck, and the other on its head. Monkey cried, "Time to go, old turtle! Go gently!" And the turtle swam easily through the endless waters until evening came. But when they were nearly at the far side, the turtle suddenly asked Tripitaka an important question.
"When I took you across last time, I asked you to find out from Buddha how long I have to wait before I become a human. Did you remember to ask Buddha?"
Unfortunately, Tripitaka had been so busy with his own problems, losing his mortal body, going up the mountain, meeting Buddha and all his followers, taking the scriptures, that he had had no time to think of anything else. Tripitaka did not want to tell a lie, but he did not know what to say. When no answer came, the turtle knew that he had not asked. It was very annoyed. The turtle did not think it had asked for much, and it was true, it had not.
"You have broken your promise,"
said the turtle. Without another word, it dived deep down into the water, leaving the 4 pilgrims, the horse, and the Holy Scriptures in the river. But there was some good fortune in their misfortune. First, Tripitaka was now immortal, and could not die under water. Second, the white horse was really a dragon, and could swim very well. Third, Pigsy and Sandy were both perfectly happy in the water. Monkey, of course, just leapt into the air, and helped his master back to the land. But the Scriptures and all the luggage were wet, and as they climbed to the river bank, a great wind began to blow. The sky grew black, and lightning lit up the sky. Tripitaka held the Scriptures close to him, while Sandy held the luggage, and Pigsy held the white horse. Monkey knew that this storm was caused by demons who were trying to steal the Scriptures. The demons attacked all through the night, stopping only when the sun began to come up. And although nobody could see them, Monkey hit out with his cudgel at them, holding it in both hands, and hitting first to the right and then to the left. Tripitaka, who was already wet from the storm, was left shaking with fear. "Monkey," he asked in a shocked voice, "what does all this mean?" "It is jealousy," answered Monkey. "The success of our journey has put jealousy in the heart of every demon in heaven and on earth, because our power is almost as great as theirs now. It is good that you kept the Scriptures close to you. That and my cudgel saved us from losing the holy words." Tripitaka then understood, and he thanked Monkey for his protection. When the sun was hotter, they dried their clothes and the Scriptures on a rock. Even today, this rock is called the rock where the Scriptures were dried. They also dried their shoes and clothes. When they had almost finished, some workers came past. They said, "Are you not the gentleman who crossed the river to fetch the Scriptures from India?" "That is right," said Pigsy. "How do you recognize us?" "We are from Mr. Chen's farm," they answered. "How far is it from here?" Pigsy asked. "If you went about 20 kilometers south from here, you would come to it," they answered. "Let's take the Scriptures and dry them at the farm," said Pigsy. "If we go there, we can sit down comfortably and get something to eat." "I'm not going," said Tripitaka. "We can dry the Scriptures very well here." But then Mr. Chen himself appeared. "I see that you have got the Scriptures," he said happily. "Please come home with me." "Wait until our Scriptures are dry," said Monkey. "Then we will go home with you." "I see that your clothes are wet too. What has happened to you?" asked Mr. Chen. Tripitaka explained about the white turtle. When he finished, Mr. Chen again asked them to follow him home. In the end, Tripitaka accepted the kind offer. But when they were collecting the Scriptures, some of the paper stuck to the rock, and part of the last sheet of paper was lost. That is why it is incomplete today, and still today you can find some writing on the rock where the Scriptures were dried. Tripitaka was very upset. "We were not careful enough," he said sadly. "Don't get yourself so upset," said Monkey. "These Scriptures are now as they are supposed to be. Heaven and earth are not more complete. The missing part is a secret, and it is not meant to be read by others. You were as careful as you needed to be. You did nothing wrong." Back at the farm, They were welcomed by everybody there, young and old, and given all the best wine and food. As a Buddha, though, Tripitaka had lost his taste for earthly food, and Monkey wanted only fruit. Sandy ate very little, and even Pigsy ate less than he had before. "I do not know why I cannot eat more," he said sadly. After they had eaten, Mr. Chen said, "We have had some pictures painted of you. We wanted to thank you for saving Warboy and Much Gold." Then Warboy and Much Gold came into the room and bowed. The pilgrims were invited to look at the pictures of themselves in the upstairs room of the farm. "Yours is very like you," said Pigsy, pushing his elbow gently into Monkey's side.
"I think yours is wonderfully like you, too," said Sandy to Pigsy. "But the master's painting is a little too handsome, really."
"I think it is very good," said Tripitaka. The brothers Chan and all their workers prayed to these pictures every day. Since their prayers had started, there had been no more damage from rain, and everybody had had plenty to eat. "That is a gift from heaven, not from us," said Monkey, "but we will certainly try to protect you. You will have many children, and those children will have many children. Your animals will grow fat, and the wind and the rain will come at the right time of year." The people thanked him again, and again they offered more fruit and cake. "It is my bad luck," said Pigsy. "I used to be able to eat a lot, but in those days no one pushed food on me. Now I eat very little, and everybody wants to see me eat more." Because he did not want to insult the Chen family, Pigsy managed to eat 8 or 9 dishes of vegetables and 20 or 30 cakes. It was now late at night. Tripitaka watched the scriptures, but he felt nervous. "I think we should leave," he told Monkey. "If we stay here too long, people will try to get our secrets from us." "I agree with you," said Monkey. "We had better go quietly while everyone is still asleep." Pigsy was not a fool now. Sandy and the horse clearly saw the need to go too. And as the pilgrims left the farm, a sweet-smelling wind took them up and away on a cloud. In the morning, the villagers came again with offers of fruit and other special food. It was a terrible surprise when they found that the pilgrims had disappeared. They looked everywhere for them, but after a few hours they gave up hope. "Why have you taken our living Buddha away?" they cried to the God of continuing days. Since that time, 4 times a year, the villagers have performed a special dance in front of the pictures of the Master and his followers. The farm has been turned into a temple, and at every hour of every day there are people praying on their knees there. Some pray for better health, some pray for protection on a journey, and others pray for their children's future. Less than a day after they left Chen's farm, the pilgrims could see in the distance the towers of Chang'an. It was 13 years and 9 months since Tripitaka had departed. The emperor had ordered a high tower to be built outside the western gates, and had named it the Scripture Lookout Tower. And now, looking out, he suddenly saw the whole western sky fill with a magic light. A minute later, he noticed a sweet smell in the wind. The protectors went with the pilgrims as far as the gates of the city. "We prefer to wait here for you," they said to Tripitaka. "The people around here are very tricky. We do not want them to know that we are here, and there is no need for your followers to go with you. But you, Master, had better go at once
and give the Emperor the scriptures. We will wait for you here, and then we will all go back and report to Buddha's holy mountain." "That sounds fine," said Monkey. "But how can the master carry the scriptures? And who is going to lead his horse? We had better go with him."
Kuan Yin promised Buddha that the whole journey would take only 8 days. If you all go, Pigsy will be looking around for food, and you will lose time," said one of the protectors.
"How can you be so rude?" cried Pigsy. "Why should I waste time here? I am as anxious as anyone to get back to Buddha's holy mountain. The master has become a Buddha, and I intend to become a Buddha too. You wait here. When we have given the Emperor the scriptures, I will go back with you, and will get my reward."
Then, with Pigsy carrying the luggage, Sandy leading the horse, and Monkey at Tripitaka's side, they stopped in front of the tower. The Emperor and his ministers came down to meet them.
"So my dear brother has come at last," the Emperor cried, giving him a horse to ride into the city.
When they were seated in the great hall, the scriptures were put in front of the Emperor. Tripitaka told the story of how he arrived at the holy mountain. He told of the trick played by Buddha's 2 followers. He described how he had, in the end, got the written scriptures by giving his golden bowl as a gift. There are, in total, 5,048 chapters, he added. The Emperor was very happy, and he ordered a banquet. Suddenly, he noticed the 3 pilgrims, who were sitting at the far end of the hall. He thought they looked unusual. "I suppose these gentlemen are foreigners," said the Emperor. "My oldest follower, named Monkey," said Tripitaka, "came from the cave of the water curtain on the mountain of flowers and fruit. 500 years ago he made trouble in heaven, and Buddha sent him to a stone prison under a mountain. But he became a holy man with the help of the goddess Kuan Yin. I was able to free him and take him with me as my follower. He protected me on the journey to India, and he helped me to get the scriptures. Without him, I would not be here now. My second follower, Pigsy, came from the Cloud Ladder Cave, and was at the farm of Mr. Cow when I found him. He has carried the luggage all through our travels, and he was very helpful when we had to get across rivers. My third follower, Sandy, came from the River of Sands. He, too, was brought to me by the goddess Kuan Yin. And our horse is not the one that you gave to me."
"Really?" said the Emperor. "It looks the same to me. Why did you change horses?"
"Actually," said Tripitaka, "my first horse was eaten by this one. But Monkey went to Kuan Yin, and the goddess explained that this horse was really a son of the Dragon King of the Western Ocean. He got into some trouble, but he took me to the west, and so his life was saved. He has carried me well over the most difficult hills and mountains. On the way there, I rode on its back. On the way home, it carried the scriptures. As you can imagine, we are all very grateful to him."
"You have been served well. Tell me," said the Emperor, "how far is it to India?"
"I only know that the summer turned to winter 14 times. There was no day when we did not ride over hills or mountains. Often we rode through large forests or crossed great rivers, and we passed through too many countries to count." When the banquet was ready, the Emperor asked,
"Do your followers know how to behave at an emperor's banquet?"
"I am afraid that they do not," said Tripitaka.
They have spent their time mostly in rough country conditions." "Don't worry," said the Emperor. "I will not blame them. Tell them to come to the banquet." There was dancing and singing and music and food at the banquet, and it was a very happy day. In the evening, when the meal ended, the pilgrims went to Tripitaka's old temple in the woods. There the priests welcomed them with a bow. This time, inside the temple, Pigsy did not shout for more food, and Monkey and Sandy behaved perfectly. All three were now spirits of wisdom, and it was not difficult for them to stay quiet. When night came, they all went to sleep. Early next morning, the Emperor woke and called for his secretaries. "All night I could not sleep, because I was thinking of good enough words to thank my brother for his success. I have now in my head a few sentences, although they are nothing compared to the wisdom of the Scriptures." He asked the secretaries to write down his words, which later became known to all as the Introduction to Buddha's Holy Teachings. The Emperor then asked Tripitaka to read from some of the Holy Scriptures in the holiest temple in the city. As the Scriptures were so valuable, the Emperor ordered his secretaries to make copies, which were later sent to every city in China. As Tripitaka started reading, he smelled the sweet wind, and the protectors appeared in the air above the pilgrims. They said, "You must all leave the Scriptures and follow us to the west." At once, Monkey and the others, including the white horse, got up from the ground. Tripitaka put down the scripture that he had started reading. He was lifted straight up to the 9th heaven. The Emperor and his ministers bowed low to the ground as they were carried away. Later, all the people of the city prayed and read the great Scriptures, and their lives were much better after that. The 4 pilgrims and the white horse were taken back to Buddha's holy mountain by the protectors. There they found that their great journey had taken just 8 days. On the holy mountain, they and all the gods waited for Buddha. When everyone was ready, Buddha appeared and spoke first to Tripitaka. "Holy priest," he said, "in a past life you were close to me, and you were called Golden Tree. But because you did not obey my teaching, you had to start life again in the East. Now you have obeyed me so well that I am making you a Buddha. Your title will be Buddha of Ability. Monkey, because you made trouble in heaven, you were put under the mountain of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Fortunately, when your time there was finished, you turned your heart to religion, to the fight against wrongdoing, and the fight for good. On your recent journey, you have done so well that I am making you a Buddha. You will be the Buddha of success in difficult times. Pigsy, you were a soldier of the water armies of heaven, but at a banquet you drank too much and insulted a goddess, and for this you were born again in the human world, looking very much like an animal. When you were living at the Cloud Ladder Cave, you found religion and offered your protection to Tripitaka on his journey. You are still greedy, but because you carried the luggage all the way, I am now making you the keeper of the holy temple." "Hey!" said Pigsy. "You have just made the others Buddhas. Why am I not a Buddha too?"
"Because," answered Buddha, "your conversation and appearance are still not fine enough, and you still eat too much. But I have so many followers in the world that you will get plenty to eat in your new job. You will have nothing to complain about."
Pigsy knew that he had to accept his new job. He did not say another word.
"Sandy, you were a great spirit, but at a banquet you broke a dish of great value, and you were sent to the human world. There you lived in the river of sands, and you hungrily ate people. But after that you found religion. You promised to protect and help Tripitaka, and you did. Because of this, I am lifting you high among us, and giving you the title of Golden-Bodied Soldier."
Sandy bowed. Happily, he accepted his new title. Then Buddha turned to the white horse.
"You," he said, "were a child of the Dragon King of the Western Ocean, but you disobeyed your father and were guilty of bad behavior. Fortunately, you found religion. Because you carried Tripitaka to the west and the holy scriptures on the return journey, you too must have your reward. From this day, you will be one of the 8 heavenly dragons."
The white horse made a sign to show how grateful it was. It was led to the back of the holy mountain, where there was a pool of magic dragons, and it was pushed into the pool. After a short time, it began to change shape, and its coat began to change to a golden color. Its 4 feet rested on the clouds, and then it flew up out of the pool. It was now changed from a horse to a magic dragon. "Master," said Monkey to Tripitaka, "I am now a Buddha like you. I should not have to wear a cap so that you can control me." "It was put on you," said Tripitaka, "at a time when you knew nothing. Then we needed to control you. Now you are a Buddha, and it has gone. Feel your head, and you will see. It is not there now." Monkey put his hand on his head. Tripitaka was right. The cap had gone. A grateful smile spread across his face. All the spirits of heaven watched as Tripitaka, Monkey, Pigsy, Sandy, and the horse received their new holy titles. While they went to their places in the great hall, many loud voices began to pray to them. They were accepted with open arms, and from that day Pigsy did not shout for more food, and Monkey and Sandy behaved perfectly. The reason for this was simple. All 3 had received the greatest of gifts, wisdom. I give this, my book, to you, dear reader, so you can understand the beauty of Buddha's land. It will be a reward for kindness, and it will help with the suffering of the lost souls of this world. I would like to think that my readers will turn their hearts towards the true way, and will be born again in the world of true happiness.